This interview went off the rails fast, and the panel could barely hide it. With King Charles III heading to the U.S. for a major state visit, you'd expect a calm discussion. But on Piers Morgan Uncensored, things turned into pure tension the moment Sean Spicer started defending Donald Trump on democracy and the 2020 election. And let's just say, the British panel was not having it. Before we dive into the full story, comment where you're watching from, and don't forget to like and subscribe so you don't miss the next one. Let's get into it.
Look, no, all due respect.
Really?
Our former government.
Really?
Really. Yeah, really. I love it because here in America, we had these no kings protests, which is ironic from the sense that there seems to be an overlooking of the last election where Donald Trump won the popular vote. He won all 7 swing states. We had a very robust democracy. It's like when the left and the folks in the media don't get their way, somehow democracy is under attack. If you look, ironically, it was the left, it was Kamala Harris that was coronated. Maybe we should have had a no Queens rally because it was Kamala Harris that didn't have to face the primary voters in the Democratic Party to become the Democratic nominee. It was Kamala Harris that lost an election very profoundly to Donald Trump. We went through our own exercise, which is called an election, which is the cornerstone of any republic, which is what we have, just to give you guys a little lesson in what form of government we actually do have here. And frankly, I'm looking forward. No, thank you, because that's what it is. I know you may not want to call it that, but technically it's true. But I'm looking forward to the king coming. We have, as we like to say, a special relationship with Great Britain. And on our eve of our 250th anniversary, regardless of what president's in office at the time, I think there's it's very fitting for the king in particular to come over and to discuss the relationship, the formation of our country, and the current relation that we have. I think it's great that he's coming. I know that there's a ton of side issues, and there always will be at some time or another. It won't matter. There'll always be something outstanding. I'm glad the king is coming. I think it's a great honor that he gets to address Congress as his mother did. So I'm looking forward to his visit. I'm looking for him to celebrating 250th years. But frankly, with all due respect, we don't need any lessons in how to conduct our business from the folks over in the UK.
Okay, well, little warning card there. Let me bring in John Sopel. John, is this a good idea for King Charles? Because the argument is that while there's a war raging, that's inappropriate. And particularly when the President of the United States appears to have gone rogue against this country. He's been very negative about our Prime Minister, about the country, about our military, about the way our military served in Afghanistan, which as somebody who had a brother who served in Afghanistan, I found particularly objectionable, I have to say. But is it right, do you think, that in 3 weeks, King Charles and Queen Camilla go to the United States and have a big state dinner in the middle of a raging war and so on?
I think the thing is very, very awkward and uncomfortable. I was really struck by the statement that came from the palace yesterday, which started on the advice of His Majesty's government. Yes. Like, nothing to do with me. I didn't want to go, but honestly, the government is telling me that I really ought to. And I've had it on good authority that, you know, those in Buckingham Palace, before the second state visit when Donald Trump came back to Britain, thought that it shouldn't go ahead, that he was going to be up in Scotland. He could go and visit his golf course and then pop in for a very nice dinner at Balmoral, and that should be it. And that it was too soon to give Donald Trump an unprecedented second state visit. I remember interviewing Keir Starmer. He said, well, this is unprecedented because Donald Trump is an unprecedented figure. I said, yeah, he's been impeached twice and has got a criminal conviction. As for the democracy point, and Sean's point about, you know, don't lecture us, the 2024 election, Democrats don't seem to like it when they don't win. I 100% agree with you. The 2024 election was entirely fair. Donald Trump won it. All the swing states, absolutely no question about it. What about the 2020 election when Donald Trump lost and there were 63 court cases and the head of election security said it was absolutely fine and the Attorney General said it was absolutely fine and the General Counsel in the White House said it was absolutely fine and one person couldn't accept it, Donald Trump. He doesn't have a great record when elections go against him, I would just gently say.
I mean, I will let Sean come back on that in a moment. What I would say about that is I said all this to Trump's face in the last interview we did, and things got very acrimonious. I guess the argument is that in defense of America's democratic process is that Donald Trump did leave the White House, notwithstanding the fact he said the election was rigged and I didn't lose, everything else. He did leave when he was supposed to leave, and democracy was seen to be done. So it may be that he doesn't. I mean, I can remember, I'm old enough to remember when Hillary Clinton was questioning the result of the 2016 election. She used different language about it, but she was certainly suggesting that there
She didn't mount legal challenges. She was
no, it was different.
She was at the Capitol for the inauguration.
She certainly was suggesting that this wasn't a fair fight. And I think that the bottom line with, I guess, the American system, I would say, if I was an American defending it, is, well, Trump did leave. He may not have wanted to, and he might have disparaged that election and said it was rigged and so on, which it wasn't.
And this is where the entire argument completely loses credibility. Because again, what Piers Morgan tried to do, this side-by-side comparison between Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump, just doesn't hold up when you actually look at the facts. One moved on, the other never let it go. Clinton made her comments, questioned the process, and that was it. The system carried on, the transition happened, and the country moved forward. But with Trump, it didn't stop there. The claims about the 2020 election didn't fade. They became a Postoyan message, repeated over and over, shaping how millions of people viewed the outcome. And that's the difference people keep glossing over. You can't equate a moment of political frustration with a long-term narrative that challenges the legitimacy of an entire election. That's why reactions like the ones you saw on that panel weren't just disagreement, they were disbelief. And then you zoom out even further. You look at the broader tone, the comments about allies, the dismissive language toward the UK, and it raises a bigger question. Why move forward with a high-profile visit from King Charles III under those conditions? Because diplomacy isn't just about tradition, it's about mutual respect. When statements are made that downplay another country's military or question its role, it naturally puts strain on that so-called special relationship. And that's why for some people, this visit feels less like a celebration and more like an awkward political moment waiting to happen. Which brings it back to Sean Spicer. Because his defense didn't land the way he probably expected, if anything, it reinforced the reaction from the panel, why they were laughing, why they were pushing back, and why the whole exchange felt so one-sided. At the end of the day, when arguments start sounding like a collection of talking points instead of grounded reality, people notice, and clearly, they did.